Crypto markets are down sharply as Trump called for his staff to prepare the situation room in the event of a full-blown war. And this could get biblical, throwing the world into chaos and beginning World War III. And it's all because there's been continued escalation between Iran and Israel, which has long been a U.S. military ally, and over Iran fears, because there are fears that Iran is now a nuclear threat to the world. Now, just a few days ago, Trump was calling for Iran and Israel to make a deal and end this thing before more needless bloodshed occurred. But tensions between the nations changed sharply, and things have escalated to the point that the US is now involved, and markets did not take kindly to this news, as even XRP tanked from $2.33 for what looked like a breakout but turned into a false breakout and dumped all the way down to $2.12 for a 9.25% loss. And although it looks like XRP and markets are recovering slightly, do they have enough strength to withstand any more negative news and volatility around this event? Or will this event be the final straw to break the camel's back? Well, stay tuned because we have a lot to cover in this video that could make or break your portfolio. And really quickly, before we begin, if you haven't had a chance to already this week, head on over to Bull Runners HQ on Twitter or X, check out the pinned post, and follow all 3 steps in order for a chance to win $100 worth of XRP this week. Every single week we do announce it on our crypto newsletter, and you do need to follow through with all 3 steps. A lot of people actually skip a few steps, so we double verify, and it is completely random who wins, but you have to head on over to Altcoin Secrets. But in order to enter this giveaway and raffle every single week, you do have to be subscribed. So be sure to head to bullrunners.com or click the link in that pinned post after following through with all 3 of those steps to get the 23 secrets to becoming a crypto millionaire sent straight to your inbox and to have a shot to win the $100 worth of XRP this week. And as always, my friend, if you're feeling blessed, maybe not as bullish right now, comment 777. And also, if you're going to be the wealthiest person in your family tree, smash the subscribe button. Hello and welcome back to the Bull Runners channel. If you're new here, my name is Paul, and you can find me on Twitter or X at PauliDeFi, PAULIEDEFI. For a second there, it actually looked like markets were primed to break out. We had what you saw on Bitcoin was a double bottom, and let me go ahead and get out of the way, at about the $104,500 range. Then you saw a break above the $106,000 range for a resistance and a move all the way back up to about 108 for what looked like it could have been a breakout on the entire crypto market. But then upon the news that tensions and airstrikes were escalating in the Middle East between Israel and now Iran, things started getting a little bit iffy. When things got even worse, Donald Trump prepared the situation room, and that was a strong signal to the markets that there might be some more volatility ahead and that we might be funding or entering a war. Markets didn't like that, and at that moment in time, Bitcoin and actually the rest of the crypto market started dumping pretty hard. Now you'll notice right here, XRP pumped all the way to $2.33, dumped all the way down to $2.12 for what seems to be our final range of support that we've consistently been bouncing down to before it potentially makes new lows. And it was on the verge of a real breakout above the 235 range, but it failed to do that upon this news. Since that moment in time, XRP has put in what seems to be its local bottom, but it's still going to need to break above the $2.17 range to be in any healthy territory, considering it is still in an intermediate term downtrend. And so right now, the entire crypto market, including XRP, is completely dependent upon how this situation goes in the Middle East, because any more volatility or escalations or involvement from the United States or even one tweet from sitting President Donald Trump will affect the market, and anything that creates uncertainty will likely cause major investors to sell their positions on risk on asset classes like crypto. And so it's going to be really important to pay attention, considering XRP might actually break below the $2.10 range, and if it does, it's likely going back down to what would be its final support at 205 Anything below there is very bearish and arguably going to take us down to 178 and 147. And I'm not actually saying that that in and of itself is bearish. That's just natural in markets. They go up, they go down. What goes up must come down. What goes down eventually makes its way back up if it's a decent crypto, one of those being XRP. So if anything, this is actually very bullish, because if it dumped below this range, we actually have a really big dip buying opportunity at the 180 range all the way down to the 150 range. And right there, it might be really good to have a bit of cash sitting on the sidelines ready to accumulate and buy that dip. Now, I understand some of this news may not seem quite important to you because it doesn't currently affect you, but this can very much affect your crypto portfolio. So I just want to keep you within the loop and give you a quick summary and then share a video on what's actually happening. So there is an escalating conflict between Israel and Iran, where basically things have intensified as they fired more rounds and attacks at each other. Then Trump amped up his rhetoric, basically stating that he now has complete and total control of the skies over Iran. So obviously we're siding with Israel on this as a nation, at which point Israel said it killed Ali Shadmani, Iran's new wartime chief of staff and its most senior military commander. So it seems like they've already been on top of their target and that they had a path to victory. Then we've sent a second U.S. aircraft carrier all the way over to the Middle East. So yes, we're getting a bit involved. And if things escalate, markets are going to sell off. That's just the reality. That will include your crypto portfolio. And by the way, according to this news article, which was a day ago, and I'm sure its number is bigger, at least 224 people have been killed in Iran and about 24 people in Israel. But again, it's always the case with numbers when it comes to deaths in these types of situations. You'll never fully know the real number, and it could be far higher on both sides. Needless to say, it sounds like the US is in control, or at least trying to maintain face, when Donald Trump tweeted or posted that they know where their so-called supreme leader is hiding, that he's an easy target, and that they're not going to take him out just yet, but they could if they want to, and the fact that his patience is wearing thin. So this alone could be kind of a loose cannon tweet, or at least interpreted in that way by markets, to which point they say, you know what, we might not want to hold through this type of volatility, because if it does wear thin to the point where we get more involved, then markets will go dumping. That said, President Trump is now holding a phone call with the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu to discuss the war with Iran. And as we all know, Netanyahu consistently maintains that Iran does have weapons of mass destruction, but we found that to not be the case in the Middle East in the past when we entered into Afghanistan and Iraq, and that was just a war cry, a rallying cry to fund those wars. So it's very much possible that Iran might not actually have weapons of mass destruction, but ultimately Netanyahu and Israel want to take over the entire region. And this comes in the name of defense. Either way, markets are going to get hurt. Now, as for the good news, I get this all sounds very overwhelming, and it sounds kind of like a political ploy to get attention. That's really not my aim. Ultimately, on the positive side, I'm not actually seeing as much panic in the markets as many people would like to assume. And I get that the image or the thumbnail might lead you to believe, uh-oh, things are bad. But the reality is things look a lot better than we believe, considering markets should be down way more on panic. I've seen panic before in markets, and usually they sell off quite heavily and steep. But when you look to Bitcoin, not only did it sell off from about 108 back down to 103, it's actually getting bought right back up at the 103.4 range, and now we're back to the prior local high of about 105. So anything above this range of 105.5 would likely take us right back up to 108, and that would signal a lot of strength. Just the fact that we're really uncertain right now, there's been constant situations in the market and volatility and Trump tweets in every direction and tariffs and wars. We are still seeing really high prices on the majority of cryptos. That leads me to believe that there's a lot of underlying strength and demand in the market. Then when you combine that with the fact that stocks are also edging higher on Fed Day, as investors have been focusing on Israel and Iran, according to Barron's, the Federal Reserve is widely expected to keep interest rates steady with its 2 p.m. Eastern Time decision, which happened already, and markets are now pricing in 1 to 2 rate cuts this year. So this has kept markets pretty steady. People know what to expect when it comes to interest rates, and even the fact that interest rates remain unreasonably high and Trump doesn't like it. Again, we're not seeing the type of sell pressure we typically would in a truly bearish environment, which leads me to believe that although we might get a few more dips, those dips will likely be bought right back up into a longer term trending bull market through 2026. So any dips you can buy below the $100,000 for Bitcoin, below $2 for XRP, will be huge. And this is further confirmed by this post from the Kobisi letter to basically state that all of those who are calling for World War III may be slightly off on this idea. Because even if there was a 50% chance of a World War III right now, the S&P 500 wouldn't be 2% away from a new all-time high, to which I agree. This is a signal that there's a lot of underlying strength even in times of volatility and uncertainty. The fact that the S&P would be down over 30%, gold would be above 5,000, and oil prices would be above $100 a barrel in the case of a major world-breaking event. If there were a 90% chance of World War III, the S&P would be down over 50%, gold above 10,000, and oil prices at $200 a barrel. Despite all the headlines, markets say we are far away from World War III. That does not mean that it can't occur. It's just that markets aren't currently pricing something like that in, to which I would totally agree with something like Bitcoin being at 105 or XRP being at $2.17 and still far above the $2.05 range, which would be our last line of defense and support on that asset. So looking at this chart on XRP coming out to that daily time frame and zooming out, you can see that we did experience quite a bit of selling right here at the $2.33 range for a breakdown. What was potentially going to be a breakdown or breakout, I should say, ended up being a fake out, and now we're chilling right back into this range just at about $2.17. Anything above the $2.33 range is likely going to take us back up to $2.65, and so I will be a bull above right here at $2.33 to 35 cents. I will be a bear below the $2.10 range down to $2.05. Anything below there, I'm not going to be a perma bear, but just bearish to the point where we'll likely see a breakdown to 178 to 180 yet again, and anything below that range is going to be great for dip buying into a macro bull market. So you just want to pay attention and watch the market closely with these events over the upcoming days. Maybe have tighter stops or just stop losses somewhere below the lows right here of about $2 wouldn't be a bad bet, because anything below there is extreme danger territory, and that's not for me to say you should be afraid, but if anything, I'm trying to help you prepare, because then when you actually see something like this occur and we saved your butt, I'm hoping that you'll see the value in what I share on this channel enough to join us over at Altcoin Pro University, where we have nearly 1,000 members paying us monthly $97 to be in this platform and to take the courses and the classes and be involved in the live calls, to take advantage of DeFi yield farms and altcoin picks and airdrop alerts. Basically, this is your one-stop shop to becoming a crypto millionaire. We cannot guarantee that, because you actually have to put in the work and the effort and have some level of working capital, but we can sure as heck guarantee that this is the best platform on planet Earth when it comes to crypto and your education, and just helping you to find unique opportunities in the market with our team of professional analysts and DeFi researchers. That said, if you come over to the community side and you check out the DeFi yield picks, every single week we share directly for our community members and do a step-by-step guide and tutorial how to take advantage of a DeFi yield quick win, where you can put your money to work and arguably get that money to pay for the membership. In other words, this membership could actually be free if you just take advantage of one of these yield picks. For example, here we have a 30% APY for the week on a minimum of like $2,500, which would be marginal impact, and we show you step by step how to take advantage of this type of a yield. In other words, just yielding this alone could actually pay for your membership, which is insane. And we have tons of members winning all the time. So if that sounds interesting to you, head on over to altcoinpro.com, or you can find the link in the description below. And thank you so much for being on this video and watching to the end. If you did, be sure to subscribe. And until next time, I will see you in a later video. Goodbye, my friend.